Good evening, everyone. Welcome to 2018 work session tonight. First order of business, Pledge of Allegiance, be led tonight by Mr. Jim Estes.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 4 on your agenda is the approval of the agenda. Anybody wish anything moved? Approval of the consent agenda is number 5 in tab 1. Anything there that any member wishes to discuss independently on Thursday night? Okay, move on to number 6, which will be visitors, which will be Thursday night, of course, and then recognition. Coach Christian told me that Mr. Davis would be here on Thursday night, and we can honor him on that night for his Mr. Football winner. And Mr. Director, number 8.
Number 8 is the 2017-18 Fine Arts Section C Textbook Adoption Committee. Remember, we have a schedule in the state. In 6 years, you have adoption in different areas. Of course, this year again is the Fine Arts, and Ms. Halford made the contacts for this. So the names and qualifications of the following individuals are being submitted for appointment to the Fine Arts C Textbook Adoption Committee for 17-18 school year upon board approval. This includes parents to serve on this committee. The first one is Visual Arts. It's Amy Gray, Siegel Middle, Michael McGoffin, Siegel High, Marion Smith, Rock Springs Elementary, Christy Rockdale Elementary, Lacey Welker, Smyrna Middle School, Eric Snyder, MTSU Director of Todd Art Gallery, and Jennifer Jones, a Rutherford County Schools parent. And in the theater, textbook adoption is Janie Melissa Broyles, Eagle School, April Gunter, Siegel High School, Donna S.C., Stewart's Creek High, Kate Goodwin, Middle Tennessee State University, and Misty Beecham, Rutherford County School parent. And the third one in this Fine Arts is the music. Kevin Brenner from Central Magnet School, Matthew Clark, Oakland High School, Chris Click, Central Magnet, Foster Hudson, Oakland Middle School, Hugo Sanchez, Cedar Grove Elementary School, Rachel Lipinski, Browns Chapel Elementary School, Jason Simons, Barfield Elementary School, Michelle White, Laverne Lake Elementary School, Kay Wilson, Oakland High School, Amy Zerner, Blackman Middle School, Jennifer Vanetta Hall, Middle Tennessee State University, and Amy Massengale, a Rutherford County School parent. The motion will be to approve the appointment of the textbooks that are as presented.
That'll be the motion on Thursday night. Are there any questions for the director on these fine people who we appreciate, by the way, from for serving on these committees? Any questions? Number 9.
Number 9 is approval of the EPIC, that's the acronym for Experienced Professionals in the Classroom Grant in partnership with the Tennessee Department of Education. The EPIC Experienced Professionals in the Classroom Grant in partnership with Tennessee Department of Education is presented for approval to begin on January 15, 2018 through September the 30th, 2020. The EPIC grant is for $253,000 over 3 years from the Tennessee Department of Education in partnership with the U.S. Department of Education. The Rutherford County Schools match will be $195,294.56 over 3 years. The grant was awarded for Rutherford County Schools to become our own education preparation provider, which will enable our occupational licensed teachers to receive their Tennessee Teacher's License. The focus will be, but not limited to, our advanced manufacturing teachers, health science teachers, information technology teachers. This program will be the first of its kind and will set the precedent for other districts to follow. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve the EPIC grant for $253,000 and our Rutherford County Schools match at $195,294.56 over 3 years, which will assist in creating our own Tennessee licensed teachers in partnership with the Tennessee Department of Education. I'm going to ask Tyra Pilgrim to step to the podium. We were contacted actually by the state, and this goes back to career and technical education. when we employ somebody from business or industry, they have to earn 18 hours of education credits at their expense. They have to receive a Tennessee license. So the idea of this project is, can we put a model in place and the state will accept, and that's what the state's looking for, to let school districts do some of that teaching of these teachers, CTE teachers, in educational presentation, class management, all of those things that typically go in those 18 hours of credit, so that the people that work for us and other districts too won't be paying for 18 hours more of college credit. All these people come from CTE and they take a salary cut to come, and then we tell them, well, you got to go to MTSU and earn 18 more hours. So the U.S. Department of Education reached out, Tennessee Department of Education reached out. I remember a conversation last year by telephone and said, would Rutherford County be interested in maybe helping pilot this to see where we can go? The one piece I'm not real crazy about is they want us to help pay for it, pay for all of it the first year. But I'll let Ms. Pilgrim kind of talk to you about how that contract is written.
We are very excited about this opportunity. In this grant, we were part of the CTE recruitment and retention pilot. If you remember, a couple of years ago, we've been doing that for about the last year and a half. And that kind of made us really take a look inward to see what our teachers need, how we can keep, hire quality teachers and then keep them. And the, thing that kept coming up was the, cost for education, because our CTE occupational teachers are experts in their field all day long. They just need the education piece. And so with this grant, we would be able to train our own and get them a Tennessee teacher license, and it's the first of its kind. There are a couple models that have a hybrid that are in a couple different counties, but this would be the first one where it would be completely in-house. And so the way that the money breaks down is it's the first year, it's for salary. It's to hire a person. And so the first year they would pay like $80,000, whatever the numbers are, $80,000. The second year it would be, they'd pay half of that, and then the third year they would pay half of that. And so we would fill in with the rest of that. And so what this position would be is actually getting the curriculum, coming up with a framework, writing the proposal, because we have to be approved by the Tennessee, just like a university, or we would have to be approved in their teacher ed prep, all of the CAPE standards and the INTASC and all that. So it is a huge undertaking, but it's one that I feel like we are definitely in a place where we really need to do that, because we are hiring about 20 to 23 occupational teachers every year, and we need to try to keep some of them. So that's kind of what this is about. Do you guys have any questions?
You mentioned we need to try and keep some of them. How does this affect retention? Because
Well, so, studies have shown and proven that if you're in a cohort and you've got people that are going through the, education process with you, you are more likely to stay than if you're having to kind of, go through it by yourself. And so what we would do is we would have, we're still, Brian and I are kind of, we're starting this, but then the person who comes along would be working with us, it would be part of CTE. And so they would, the framework would be where we would have all of the teachers, and it would, we're going to have to figure out the hours, we're going to have to figure out all of the things to make it work. But what we would do is they would all go through it together. So if we have, 15 people in our first cohort, then my dream or goal is that it takes one calendar year. And so then we would start the next cohort the next summer, and then that way they would be able to get all of their requirements for their teacher license in 1 year.
Currently, it takes more than 1 year.
Yes.
So at times, and they're having to attend classes after school and during the summers at the university. So many times the potential or the current teacher may stop teaching because of the burden on their family or other things like that, where we're doing so much more. We can do a lot of that during the day, and a lot of those things to make it more convenient for a family member to
we permitted to put restrictions on the employment? If we train them, we get to keep them?
Yes. Yes, we are. It's kind of one of those things to where, they could choose to, you know what, I want to get my degree, so I'm going to go ahead and choose the, university route. It's an option. So we can't say you have to do this, but it is an option to where it is definitely going to be beneficial, especially monetarily. And then also for us, we will know what they're learning. You know what I mean? It's hard to learn classroom management all the time. You got to have a class to be able, you know what I mean? So some of the things that we would be able to make it what we feel like it would need to be for our students to be the most successful.
Okay, if we accomplish this in a calendar year, just taking your hypothetical,
Yes.
1 year later, they're trained, can we require they have to stay with us for 5 years?
I don't know the answer to that.
That's a legal question, and I'm not sure,
Yeah. Don't know
to a certain
that.
extent.
That's what I mean with, if
Sure.
we train them, can we keep them?
Okay,
Thank you. We have boilerplate language currently in our contracts that we apply for all teachers. They sign a year-long contract to make it different for other teachers versus, for these teachers especially, versus other teachers may be a problem, and then there may be a state law that prohibits against it as well, so it would be something that we have to look into before we could maybe.
But also we would go back to, it would be such a cohort family type of, atmosphere that I believe that they would want to stay. I mean, I don't know that we could, like you said, make them stay, but it would definitely increase our chances of them staying if we do have this in place.
I typically do not see people seeking CTE coming from another part of the state. They tend to be very regional area, so while they might be allowed to go somewhere else or something, I'm not sure that's necessarily going to happen. Just because most of the work, again, in our region, at least in a particular occupation, one of those 15 pathways or so that we're using.
I think ours is working. We have had some repayment provisions earlier years for some of these hiring incentives, but we moved to making it X dollars, say, over 3 years. Ms. Williams and we don't remember if we collected any on that, but we had some provisions for that particular incentive that we were able to have in writing, but we did move toward a multi-year agreement rather than pay out $1,500 a year or $1,000 a year, whatever, for 2 or 3 years.
So we're kind of creating all of this. So a lot of these things like this will probably be answered I know they'll be answered in whenever we come up with this. It's just, this is the initial, grant we have, and we're working very closely with the State Department as well, because they want to see this succeed so they can, take it statewide, or maybe even national. I don't know. It's really exciting.
My concern is, and I love being on the cutting edge and a trendsetter and all of those kind of things, but already our summer professional development conference is attended by numerous neighboring counties, and you've already pointed out that in a 3-year time frame, they're going to withdraw their funding and leave us to pay for this training program. And if we're the training program that then Wilson and Williamson counties come and poach all of our CTE teachers, which still falls within what the director has pointed out as, in a regional area such as that, they will pay them more and they will take them from us and we will get left holding the bag. I would like for the state of Tennessee to at least allow us freedom And if they're not going to allow us the freedom, I understand that we have to develop this, but if they're going to put down a mandate that says you can't have a repayment option, you can't have a performance option that says if you don't perform well in this training, then like a tuition reimbursement program, if you don't get a B or better, then you're not going to get this incentive. You're not going to get this program. In fact, we're going to dock your pay. I don't understand how, if that needs to be worked out, we can approve something as a board.
What they are wanting us to do is, the reason why they picked us is because we met several factors. And the factors that we met is that all of our schools are completely SACS accredited. That's not the case everywhere. They picked us because of our strong industry, of course, and the advanced manufacturing and health science and IT, and that's the focus of what they want for the occupational is they want to focus on those top three, but then all of the other occupational teachers would benefit from that as well. And what we've talked about is if we were to have when we have our plan in place, if someone from another county, a smaller county, that can't do this, then we could have them pay a fee to be able to come to our program. We're not anywhere near that yet. We've got to get it right first, but then we can expand to some of these smaller counties if we want to.
But that type of provision has already been discussed?
Yes.
Then they are intending for us to train for this region.
Well, for us, first and foremost. And then if they have other counties that you guys approve that we can do this with, then we can do it. But if you want it to just be us, then it can just be us. So
I would certainly want to charge the county.
Yes.
I wouldn't do this for us.
right.
And I don't think they would expect us to do that.
No.
Other questions or comments?
Yeah.
Ms. Moore?
And I agree with Mr. Holliday. That was kind of one of the concerns that I was thinking about as well. And I wonder, of course, it's a right-to-work state, and I'm sure there are probably restrictions that perhaps come into play with us being a municipality versus private industry. But I know one of the things that's typically been done in private industry is like what they call a non-compete agreement, which may be somewhat similar to what Mr. Sandvik's talking about, the kind of, hey, if we're going to pay for this, or we're going to pay you this much money, or we're going to put you through all this training, you can't leave us to go to work for a competitor, and or they pay the education stuff back. But I think my question then too at this point is, when you look at the dollars that Rutherford County is going to have to match, talking almost $200,000 over 3 years, right? Are there any statistics or anything that will tell us how much per person? In other words, how many people are intended to be educated with those dollars, and kind of what the per head price tag is going to be?
And that will be part of the grant we pay for the curriculum as well. So there is a curriculum that we are going to, a third-party vendor that we're in talks with, and then we're also with MTSU, and we're all in talks together about this. And so what we're going to do is take the best of both, and we're going to create it how we want it to be, how we want it to be successful. And so when when we are ready to do that, then, like I said, last year we hired, I think, 21 or 22 occupational teachers, and then so it's going to be a continuous thing, and as we hire people, then they will go into that cohort, and the framework will already be finished, so we won't be creating that every time. We may be updating it some, but it won't be to where we have to recreate that every time. So it would be that we would be able to still use that same framework, and then the cost to us is the employee that's going to be doing the framework. So that's that's the position or whatever is what it would just roll into. So it's not necessarily that we're going to pay the state $195,000. It's not like we're paying them. Lauren, you can help me if that too. It's just that we will be, as we are taking that person's salary into our budget, that is kind of where the money would be of that amount.
Okay, so that's really more of a staffing kind of onus back on us versus us actually paying for the education.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so it's.
Sandy?
I'm also thinking we struck this kind of, occasionally we've had questions over the years. The contracts we have providing transportation to, say, School for the Blind with other systems. I would hope we could have a similar contract set up in this where first it goes to Rutherford County. If the bus is full, we wouldn't take any other, and that has never happened.
Of course.
But I would think we could have some conditions like that, whatever we work out.
Definitely. Mr. Clark?
How many career technical teachers do we presently have?
We have 180.
And the 20, you said we hired 22.
20 to 25.
Was that due to new programs or just attrition?
Well, both. We had growth positions that we received this year, but then we also had quite a few people retire, and then we had a couple people go back to industry, and so it was kind of a mix of all of that. So it's not just, but statistically, the past 4 years, it's been, like I think the year before it was 17, and so it's kind of, but it's like I said, it's that retirement, or we had a couple people, their husband received a job in another state, and so they had to move for that. So there's all kinds of reasons for people to, to leave. So I don't, think that anyone left because they hated it here. There was always either a retirement or, they had to move or, something like that.
So the focus for this grant is to get them their Tennessee teacher's license. So out of those 180 that we have, how many are there that actually have a need for this thing? I'm assuming some of them are probably already licensed.
Oh, they're all
To teach.
licensed. They're all, like this is for new people that we hire in.
Okay.
And it's for, we have, the way it's currently set up is they have 3 years to get their education classes. And so right now we have a group that just started this, that we hired in, that we could possibly put into this pilot, or put into this program if they wanted to. Some of them, like I said, want their degree, so they want to go ahead and go to the TSU or go to wherever and actually get the class period, the class credit. But it's going to be all or nothing. So if they go halfway through and they're like, you know what, we're out, then they get nothing. So it's not like they're going to be able to continue their Tennessee teacher license at ETSU and have all of our time count. It's not, it's an all or nothing with us.
I think one of the questions she's asking too, certain pathways would require somebody like, for example, an ag teacher would come with all of that licensing to start with.
Yes.
Business, education would come with those licenses. They wouldn't be a part of this because it requires a degree. I don't know,
So
I mean,
it's
I
like-
hate to name them.
It's automotive, criminal justice, cosmetology, graphic arts, information technology, health science, all of our health science teachers, advanced manufacturing.
So she's naming the
Am I
ones that
forgetting
basically would not become necessary to BS.
Right. So they could just have, if they had a high school diploma, then they could come in this program. So the business, ag, family consumer science, they already have that degree, and then, so they would not have to do this. So. Yes, sir.
This is at no cost to the teachers that are taking it, right?
Well, that's what we can figure out too, because I think they need a little bit of skin in the game, whether it's a couple $100 for the supplies and the copies and the things like that, or if it, that's something that we can determine too. But I think that they, would need a little bit of skin in the game too to, be.
Well, that would be a lot cheaper than taking
Yes, sir.
MTSU and
Yes, sir.
TSU. And it might also help with recruitment for CTE,
Definitely.
because one of the biggest problems I hear is you start talking to somebody that's thinking about taking a CTE job, and well, I don't want
almost like giving them or saving them a little money. Plus, it might be easier to say, we'll have a class here, you don't have to go there.
Any other comments?
How have we arrived at the $253,000 budget?
That was whenever the state applied for this grant, it's $1 million grant, and our award of that $1 million is the 253.
Okay,
So that's the salary, the full salary, and then we do the benefits that first year, and then the curriculum. And then, like I said, the second year would be half of the salary, and then the third year it would be half of that.
and the salary estimate and the credentials for that salary, is it vetted to where you're confident you can get that person?
Yes,
Do you already have that person in mind?
yes. But I'm not talking with anyone about that, so it's just, we've got a plan, and I'm thinking, and I want to make sure that we have the, of course, we're going to, post the job and have interviews and things, and so, I have an idea of the person that I do, the qualities and the credentials. I don't have a person, I have what I want them to have to do this job, yes, sir.
Anything else?
Part of this job also would be to, whenever they are having this training with the teachers, then they will be going in the field, in the schools, helping with observations of that teacher, help coaching them to make sure that they are, because it's all about, and like I said, we were in the pilot, it's all about that environment, and it's all about that feeling like I can call somebody and say, hey, man, I really messed this lesson up. Can you have, what did you do for it? Can you help me? And so part of that is this person is going to be able to be that person for them as well.
Did we participate in the writing of this grant application?
We did. I mean, Mr. Odom wrote a letter, and then they asked us questions, and they came to us because of the criteria that we have as a district and the reputation that we have as a district. And so yes.
The State Department of Education had a lot of them because they're the ones that will be issuing the license. So they're going to require certain things in the curriculum before you do this, and so they wrote much of the grant for what, actually Lamar Alexander's one that notifies that the grant, the state was granted in the city.
Yes.
Just to mention that to him, but,
Yes.
it was tied back to that, to what was the state going to require for licensure. They knew what they required for the 18 hours from MTSU or another university. What were they willing to allow, or what had to be covered for this to count? And that's the change model here, really.
Thank you, Ms. Bill. There's no further questions. Number 10.
Number 10 is classified staff amendment, general purpose school budget. This amendment reallocates $184,832 in already budgeted pay and benefits for classified hourly staff based on the staff we actually have in place for the 2017 school year. The amendment also adds $195,549 in BEP revenue, account 46610, and uses this revenue to fund pay and benefits for additional educational assistance for special students whose IEP require EAs. The total base pay in the amendment is $321,528, with benefits of $58,853 for a total of $380,381. This amendment increases the total budget classified hourly staff by 0.58%. Recommend approval. The motion to is amended $184,832 in already budgeted pay and benefits for classified staff to the different function object lines as presented, and to appropriate the additional $195,549 in BEP revenue, account 46610, and use these BEP funds to pay benefits for additional special education assistance as presented.
Questions from board members? Number 11.
Number 11, you have an A and a B. You have 2 student discipline appeals, I think, which you have a package been prepared. It's on your, which will come up for your consideration Thursday evening. There's 2 packets there.
Ready for insurance?
Ready for insurance, I think, Mr.
Anything?
The county government is conducting a spousal audit to ensure that they are giving the best prices and the highest level of benefits possible. So yesterday, we were given information from Melissa Street's office, and people who have their spouse carried on their insurance will be receiving information through the mail very soon to conduct that audit.
Questions from the board members?
Do you have it?
Ms. Moore?
Dr. Anthony? The audit, if I read correctly, the information is requesting what appeared to be information that proves, I guess, the legality of the marriage. You know, it's a marriage certificate or tax forms that showed both names, those kinds of things. But I didn't see anywhere on there where it's asking for information that would indicate or prove that the spouse doesn't have coverage elsewhere, which I think really was the whole design and thought process and when we put that rule into place or when we recommended it, was that, you know, not to keep spouses out of the coverage, certainly, but that if spouses were eligible for coverage with their own employers, that they wouldn't be eligible for ours. So I guess I was a little unsure. I had hoped that it would show something that would require that the employees offer that proof as well, you know, that the spouse was not employed elsewhere with coverage. But
You're correct. It appears to me, looking at the matrix and filling the questions that I've had so far, that they're just trying to verify that the marriage exists,
Right.
that each person has the same address on their bank account,
Right.
who's redacting all the information. But Melissa has not talked to me about the next label or if there's an additional rollout later on. I think it's just like the initial.
so it may be somewhere down the road that that's coming out. It's not an easy one to do, so, okay, thank you.
Mr. Stanvick, did you have a comment on?
Drafts.
The graph is slightly different than it has been before, and going through the audit, some of these things stated in the report that I used for the graph. So that has now been corrected.
Questions from any board members on insurance?
I've asked Mr. Carter, there was a discussion the other night with the Rutherford County Steering Committee relating to cost of schools and buildings, that sort of thing. So I've asked Mr. Clardy to share with you tonight. We were able to go back and look at some of those actual numbers and square footage cost and that sort of thing. So I think he would like to share some of that information with you this evening, and you should have a copy at your desk.
With the yellow at the top of it. And this spreadsheet has the last 4 high schools that we have built on, and that's Blackman High, Siegel High, Stewart Creek High, and now Rockville High School. Blackman High School is a total of, this is without the addition now, this is the first part of the high school, is 295,365 square feet. It was built for $26 million, and the cost per square foot was $88. And it was built by the County Building Authority in 2000. Siegel High School is $298,000 for $21,248,440, and it was built for $71.30 a square foot. And I believe this is right after the time that the courts helped Rutherford County Schools take back their authority to build the schools and build them to the
We actually built it cheaper than the building authority did.
We did, and that was
Larger building and a less total and less per square foot.
that was 3 years later also, when costs were rising. Then Stewart's Creek High School, was $358,448. Square feet, and it was built for $39,930,000. And it was built for $111 a square foot. Robert Biskin built that. Now there is quite a jump there of about $30 a square foot, but that's also 8 years later than Siegel High School. And now we are in the process of building Rockville High School. And if you'll notice, it's 8,000 square feet less space than Stewart's Creek High School. And the main part of that is because we offer some things in CTE at Stewart's Creek High School that's not offered anywhere else in the county. And the Rockville High School bid price was $62,498,000, and that came in at $178 a square foot. And that's built by Barton Mallow, 2017. Now, the prices that we have received on our last two buildings, which are in the city of Murfreesboro, Siegel High School, and also Oakland High School, are around $200 a square feet. Oh, middle. Oh, yeah, middle school, I'm sorry. So it's Oakland Middle School and Siegel High School. Those two jobs that we're doing there. And so they actually came in higher, and I would expect that the economy keeps booming and building the demand, and the forecast looks like prices will continue to rise. So I just wanted to clarify that. And I think that we have done a great job of managing these schools, getting them built on time, getting them built in budget. And the county commission and the school board have done a great job of getting these things funded and funding them with taxpayer money. The system is working well, and it's not broken, so we don't need to fix anything.
If my memory serves me correctly, last year Wilson County was considering building a high school. They did not go forward with it, but the estimate for the high school they were talking about building was something like $110 million. Am I remember that number fairly correctly? I think so. We'll have some site development and FF&E when you equip the inside. This 62 will be some more than that when you do that FF&E and all that, and put all your furniture in it and technology and that sort of thing, more up towards the 70 figure, but still was much less than what we were seeing estimated at some other districts. So.
When we were looking at these $178 per square foot prices, they were getting $225 and $250.
Some Williamson County schools, I believe, I remember.
And that's even in a smaller county then, right, as well?
So we've done well.
A couple of ancient history points. And do you remember the first two, Blackman and Siegel, we have the addition, we later added an addition to Blackman. We have one in place for Siegel. So the difference in the sizes when you take those additions into account kind of apply. Back when Blackman High opened, there were a lot of comparisons with Wilson Central, which was substantially less, but as $26 million construction cost basically was included everything. There were some other pieces that weren't included in the contract at Wilson Central that were it was being compared as though it was apples to apples, and it was not. So some of the things that got thrown about in 98, 99, 2000 were off by that list. And as Mr. Clardy said, from seeing costs at neighboring systems and all that throughout the time I've been here, we have been on the lower side. The 2 additions we've got underway right now are starting to get going on in Oakland. Those are the projects we're going to see a higher cost per square foot whenever we do an addition. That's just part of it. That is one reason why it made a lot of sense to go ahead and build Stewart's Creek and Rockdale High Schools to handle. We're lining up, we're building and taking them up for over 2,000. We need to plan for it. It will help us on our overall costs.
Comments from board members on Mr. Clardy's information?
I'd just like to add that I don't see this being out of line with what I'm seeing in the real estate market. If you look at your homes, 5, 6 years ago, those homes were less than $100 a square foot. You go out today to try to build one, 130, 150. So I know a starter home that is sold yesterday that brought $150 a square foot. So I see this all as a growth issue, and we want to be paying higher prices, unfortunately. But the longer we put it off, the more it's going to cost us in the long run.
Yes, and some of the, there's a little bit of a disparity in some of this pricing too, because some of them have road improvements in them that were within the bid price. Some of them have some other alternates that were added in here and there. So these prices might have been driven up by not being just a pure construction building for the high school itself, just a building. Now we have at times tried to go through and separate everything out to try to just give you pure building construction costs. But as Jeff mentioned earlier, we thought we were getting hammered early on by some of the other counties around us until we broke the cost down and found out we were including a lot more stuff in our bid than they were. They had separate contracts for a lot of the things like the construction, technology wiring, athletic facilities weren't included. They had different contracts for those, and all of those things. And all of these have the athletics facilities included in them. Now, there's one more issue, and that is that the advertisement for request for proposal on property. Mr. Odom and I discussed this week about running some ads looking for property. And those 3 pieces of property would be on North 231 in the Christiana area, and then also on the 840 Almaville Road, Veteran Parkway area. And I would just like to have some feedback from the board on that. At times we've run ads, at other times we haven't.
I think it's a good idea. We need to pursue our citizens and see what's available, and we do have a need.
I feel the same way. Options are good, so we need to keep our options open and see what's out there. If it'll help us find a piece of property we didn't know about at a cheaper price, maybe, it's good.
And there might be individuals or an individual out there that would be interested in, I believe, the Siegel schools were named after the Siegel family, and I wasn't on the board then, but I think some of that land was donated, and possibly, I'm not sure if there was some purchasing in there or not, but there may be some citizens out there that would really like to partner with the public school system in with their property.
You're looking for 2 school site or 3 school site, either one? What are the rough acreage for a 2 school site?
Then a 3-school site would be at least 100 and possibly 20 more acres if you have to put a step system in to handle the wastewater.
We've, of course, discussed this before and been out on trips, 3 or 4 of them, since I've been here anyway, looking at land, and I think options are shrinking, aren't they? Rapidly.
That's out there is going down. And there's a huge demand on property by the developer because of the demand for homes.
Board? Mr. Clark is looking for some feedback, and I guess we can put this on the agenda for a vote if you want us to, Thursday night. I would, Mr. Young and I think Mr. Blair are in favor of it. I think that I am. You know, if board, if you want to make some comments here one way or another, maybe we don't have to have a vote on it. We can just send him out there to do his job he does so well.
I guess you'll be posting some guidelines as far as what requirements are needed, as far as utilities and things like that.
Yes, Mr. Morgan and I will be working on that. We'll list all of those. We'll try to get an area maybe bounded off on the map so we can make those available here for people to come in and look at. And put a description of that also in the paper. And what the water requirements, what the gas requirements are. Even, you know, if there's city sewer there or good enough dirt to put a step system in, but will meet state requirements for the absorption rate and those types of things.
I suggest we do both papers, Murfreesboro Post and the D&J. Board? Comments, Mr. Hodge?
I'm good with it. Just want a general comment. I'm all in favor of it. Good idea.
Estes, you okay?
Good idea.
I'm fine with it as
All right. Is it okay? Okay. Anything else, Mr. Clardy? Thank you, Mr. Clardy.
Mr. Chairman, I have a statement I would like to read.
Yes, sir.
I am informing the board of my intention to exercise my retirement option from Rutherford County Schools at the end of my current director's contract of June 30th, 2018. I've appreciated the opportunity to work with the school board, the excellent administrators, teachers, and staff who give so much of their talents, skills, and time to earn Rutherford County Schools a state-designated exemplary school status. The programs and curricular offerings, along with the academic performance within Rutherford County Schools, has drawn attention throughout this state and beyond. I also want to extend a genuine thank you, and I really mean this, to each member of this school board because you've guided, supported me as we jointly sought to create and sustain this exemplary status. We functioned as one, and it works very well. The state plans to formally release the 2016-17 report card probably tomorrow is the one. So in an upcoming board meeting, I would like to take the time again for us to do what we do, is I kind of present the status of us to see how we compare with other districts. You're going to find something very interested in this, that your efficiency and what you've done, you've roughly, if you had just spent the state average per pupil, it would have cost $57 million more per year, almost the cost of that high school, that we have by our efficiency and what we've done together and still maintain exemplary status. But I'll share that with you, and we'll get a chance for the public to see it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I've had the honor and the privilege of serving as Mr. Odom's PTO president for several years, and having served on the board. And so I think that gives us 25 years of education, relationship, and friendship. And the neat thing for me was that I knew of your sterling reputation and integrity even before my children entered school, because of nieces and nephews that you guided their education. And it has been such an honor to know you, to have you educate my children and my family. And I cannot tell you how grateful I am for the service that you've rendered to my family and this county community for all these years. And God bless you for what you've done for us. So thank you, Mr. Odom.
Any other board member want to speak at this time?
Yes, sir. It has been my honor to serve with Mr. Odom, and he has been an example of excellence and expertise and a commitment to our community. And I am saddened at our loss, but excited for your freedom and the opportunities that you will have to continue to serve our community in other capacities. I remember in the interview process when Mr. Odom transitioned from Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Education into the Director's Chair, he pointed out all of the many, many challenges that we were going to face in the coming years that he has guided us skillfully as the Director of Schools, and the increased regulation, the increased scrutiny, the ever-changing requirements, and the growth that we would have in our community. And I asked him the question, I said, you've pointed out all of these challenges, and yet you profess to us that we are going to accomplish and achieve. Do you really believe that? And he replied to me, if I didn't believe it, I wouldn't say it. And you have come through. We are an exemplary school system in no small part because of your personal commitment. I thank you.
We're going to look at challenges again when we do this report card.
Understood.
Just to let you know, because it's out there regardless of whomever comes after me.
Ms. Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Odom, of course, I can't claim 25 years of history with you as Mr. Blair can, but I certainly know your knowledge and expertise and what you've done for the school system is just immeasurable. And just personally, I want to thank you for your mentorship and all the things that you've helped me learn and understand that I needed so desperately in my role as a new school board member that had never been a part of the education community. And you are truly going to be missed. And I think most of all for me too, everybody knows how knowledgeable and your expertise and everything you brought to the table, but for me too, it was watching your heart for this school system and for the children of this community, and we appreciate it.
Any other board member?
I'd like to also echo what the other board members already said, but I've had the pleasure of being with Mr. Odom, I guess, 14 years now. And how you do what you do, I really don't know. I classify you as Superman sometimes. I know you're the first one here and probably the last to leave. I just appreciate all that you've done and continue to do.
You were kind of my, well, Dr. Burns a little while, but you were my first chair, so you helped me a lot. Thank you for that publicly.
I'd like to say that it's been an honor to work with you, and you taught me a lot. You're one of the reasons I decided to come on the board. You took this position right before I accepted the school board member. And don't have Mr. Blair beat, but close. I've known Mr. Odom about 23, 24 years. So lived right across the fence from you, so to speak. So I've known you in our community, and I know what kind of reputation you have, and you're going to be well missed up here. I appreciate your service.
I've known Mr. Young's mother much longer than that. We're classmates.
I got to thinking when I was 25 years. I don't remember the first time I met Mr. Odom. We've both been in the school system for a number of years, and it's been a pleasure to be on the board with you. You taught me a lot. One of the biggest things was patience back when we had a little problem with some people. But I was also thinking, in the 3 years I've been on here, there was 4 things I disagreed with him about. 3 of them I know he's right on. And I'm about to lose the 4th one. So I appreciate what you've done for Rutherford County, our children, what we're here for. And you've always kept that in mind, that students came first. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
I think I met you when you were, and most people have forgotten, they probably don't even know it till I say this. He was actually president of the Rutherford County Education Association at one point. And that's, I think that's when I met you, I believe, at an REA meeting, and I was honored and pleased to coach and teach his 2 outstanding daughters, who, let me assure you, are smarter than most anybody in this room, certainly me. But they were a lot of fun and great students. And when I came out here, I met with him. I told him that I was thinking about asking for the appointment and so forth. And I said, the first thing that I do when I get out here, I do not want to be voting on a new superintendent. That was 3 years ago. But obviously things changed. He told me that night, I'm going to tell on him. He said, I'll be 70 years old. And I said, Mr. Odom, I'm 70 years old, and I'm going to try it. So we're both still here. I'm also stunned at the fact that he's put up with Wayne Blair for 25 years. I mean, that is remarkable. I think the board has said everything probably that needs to be said. I think it's pretty clear across the state that you have done an outstanding job, and I've enjoyed serving with you. We'll have more to say about this, of course, in just a minute. Actually, I will. But for now, if we're okay, let's go with Ms. Moore and if you have anything else, Mr. Odom? Nothing? Ms. Moore?
Tennessee Legislative, yeah, of course, today was the big day, kickoff of our legislative season. There were a couple of Education Committee meetings scheduled this week. The only thing I saw on the agenda for those looked like Commissioner McLean was coming to make a presentation to both of those. So I may have more to report out on Thursday, and certainly I would think by the later board meetings in January we will. Of course, one of the biggest, legislative concerns for all of us over these last few years, of course, has been the concern about vouchers. And although I don't think anybody can guarantee that that's dead at this point, it does look like they're going to have a hard road, because we've even got Senator Kelsey I believe he's from Germantown, who had sponsored a number of those bills, who has said he's not going to be bringing any of those bills back this legislative session, that he didn't have the support, even from the parents in his district. So I'm encouraged, but there's a lot of work to be done, and I'm encouraged by the meetings that we've had with our local legislators and their participation and interest in listening to us. So I remain hopeful, and we'll have more to report on, I'm sure, next meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Any questions for Ms. Moore?
The danger we run into sometimes, this is the biennium. All those bills that dealt with vouchers and charges are still on somebody's desk. They're not necessarily dead. And he mentioned that in the article I read also.
Right.
And I would caution too, but you all are certainly aware of it, there is such a thing as retitling something, calling it something else that sounds so good, like the old Clean Air Act that actually allowed for more pollution, not less. But you call it the Clean Air Act and everybody says, oh, wow, what a great idea. Well, the vouchers could come back, they just won't call it vouchers or something similar. And I just say we need to be alert. As
Rose by any other name.
that's, yes, very well done. Mr. Holliday.
Occasionally at the first of the year, we might take a look back at what happened in 2017. And so for the board this evening, we were one of just a handful of locations that the Secretary of Education chose to visit in 2017. And so I did a little bit of work on other places. The Secretary of Education made 36 school visits in 2017. Probably not unexpected, 7 of those were in and around D.C. 8 of those were in and around Vice President Pence's Indiana. 9 of those were in Jeb Bush's Florida. That's 24 out of 36 of the visits. And so it kind of comes down to some pretty rare air that she came and visited Oakland High School. 14 of the 36 were traditional public schools. Only 14 of the 36 were traditional public schools. Some could count 4 or more programs as traditional public, or 4 more programs as traditional public schools, but we'll look at what those were. In Van Wert, Ohio, an early childhood center. This was 3 and 4-year-olds. It was one of her public school visits. A career and technical magnet in Utah. A zoo school program in Lincoln, Nebraska. Not really a school, but a facility that the local school system had built at the zoo so that kids could go there and learn, but counted as one of her 36 school visits. And a magnet college partnership in Florida that served a grand total, grades 9 through 12, 372 students. In Florida, the average per pupil expenditure is over $14,000. 10 of the school visits were part of a 3-day tour she called Rethink Schools. In 3 days, she traveled to and visited 10 schools in Wyoming, Nebraska, Missouri, and Indiana. During this effort, she managed to work in 2 traditional public schools. 2 out of the 10 were traditional public schools. She wanted to experience Friday Night Lights, and so she went to watch a high school football game. That was one of her school visits at a traditional public school. She went to Charlottesville, Indiana, watched a football game, and counted it as a public school experience. Eastern Hancock High School put their best foot forward with all 416 of their student body. Public high school, 416, a Friday Night Lights public school experience. The other typical public school she visited on the Rethink Schools tour was the Woods Learning Center in Casper, Wyoming, a K-8 school, 9 grades, that serves 158 students. With a student-to-teacher ratio of 13-to-1, and they spend a mere $16,602 per student. Remembering that in Rutherford County, we spend somewhere around $8,700 per student. I could go on and on, like the April 6th visit to the Slam Charter School. This charter is backed by rapper Pitbull and offers 3 academic learning programs: sports medicine, sports media production, and sports marketing and management. So if the odds of making it in the NBA are not long enough for you, the Secretary of Education visited a program offering even longer odds of a life in Show Me the Money. Meanwhile, at Oakland High School on November 29th, she saw a model with over 2,000 students offering every academic class and the renowned CTE programs that caught her attention. Far higher test scores, graduation rates, and industry certifications than anywhere else she visited. We do this with pertinent local partnerships where businesses define the need, The partnership acquires the curriculum and the resources, and the public education system provides the finest environment for student achievement. All of this leads to real opportunities for life-changing careers, and as our Director of Schools so correctly told the Secretary in her visit, our model is scalable. That's why mechatronics is also seen in Siegel High School and in Smyrna High School, because it's scalable. And that's a big reason why the Assistant Secretary of Legislation and Congressional Affairs, who is the co-author of the Every Student Succeeds Act and is now appointed in the Department of Education to help with the reauthorization of career and technical education, contacted me last week and would like to meet when I visit Washington on your behalf at the first week of February.
Comments from board members or questions for Mr. Holliday? I hope it's not 0 degrees when you visit, which it was last week.
Yeah.
Okay, general discussion by board members. Thank you, Mr. Holliday and Ms. Moore. Appreciate it. Any general discussion? If not, I have 3 items which cover very, very quickly. I did, before Christmas, informed, make myself very clear here, I informed Mr. Bennett of the Tennessee School Board Association that after conversations with Director Odom, that it was entirely possible that we might have a superintendent search beginning sometime in January. And for him to send me, if he would, any information that he thought that we could use for that. And I have that right here, and I'll give you a copy of it when we leave. I also told him that I had no idea. I could not commit and would not commit this board to do anything that you all would decide how we went about this. If we wanted them to do it, that's okay. If we didn't, we had another path we wanted to follow, that was okay. I committed us to nothing, in other words, except just if he send me the information, I would appreciate that, which he did. And he confirmed the message, and that's all he said. I just want to make sure that we're clear that I have not committed us to anything. I did talk today with Principal Creasy at Siegel High School after numerous emails back and forth during the Christmas holidays and New Year's from Coach Revis, who is frankly, well, I don't know any other word to use, but desperate for his baseball lights to be fixed. And we talked about this. Mr. Clardy and I have discussed the problems that are related there. We're going to have to do something there, and I think they are entitled to A, we either fix it, or B, we tell them we're not going to fix it. And if we're not going to fix it, if that's the board's, if that's what you don't want to do, then I think that we're going to have to seriously consider closing that field until it's fixed. And he reminded me of his numerous night games there, and that the Teal-Bus AA plays part of the spring fling there. And they play everywhere, actually, in Rutherford County. I think every high school in Rutherford County. And I asked Mr. Creasy, I said, you need, if you would, to bring Mr. Revis with you and address this board with your problem. And I asked him if he wanted to do that, I would put him on the agenda for what is going to be the 24th of January. And Mr. Creasy was absolutely jumped at the chance to present that. Also, just one other thing, just a reminder. I know you'll do this. You've got 2 discipline things there. Please be cognizant of that, which you always are, and be ready to go on those on Thursday night. Okay, I have certainly talked enough. Is there somebody else that wants to say something? I hope.
Mr. Odom has provided you a map that I requested for some information that I was interested in. If you have questions about it, feel free to ask me. Otherwise, I'll leave it at that.
Comments from anyone else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
But as far as the conversation with Randall Bennett, and I'm assuming we'll discuss it further, it'll be on our agenda.
Thursday
the
night.
Next meeting, okay. Oh, for this
Yes.
Thursday?
Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't say that, did I?
Okay.
I think,
I didn't remember seeing it on the agenda, so I wasn't sure when.
and I don't believe it is. But it will be. If it's just for discussion as to what the route you want to go. And you're going to need, well, I think you'll find this material helpful. Okay? From people that have done this before. I have not done this before. And I suggest you haven't either. The others in the room have. And we can fall back on their experience. The change on our future schedule for everybody in the room that doesn't know yet, from the 25th to January 24th. And you have a thing there. Because we had a conflict on the 25th, so Ms. Michaels has moved it to the 24th. And in the meantime, we'll meet this Thursday, 5 o'clock, right? Is there anything else from anybody? Appreciate the input and the discussion tonight, as I always do. Thank you so very, very much. Ms. Pilgrim, thank you. We're adjourned.